Hey, what's up guys? Sir Amanon here, and bringing to you another video today, just kind of discussing some thoughts. I've been getting quite a few comments on my ban list video asking, hey, what are your thoughts on Lunalights after the rank up spell got banned? And my short answer to that is actually I'm very happy about that. I liked the as a thought play prior to everybody else abusing it, if I'm going to be totally honest. I thought that, it was something that was kind of unique to the Lunalight strategy, but obviously Orcusts kind of came in and took the wind beneath my sails, if you will. But speaking of Orcusts, it's actually kind of one of the directions that I consider taking with the deck. This is not by any means a refined or finalized build, but this is definitely one of the ideas that I've been toying around with. And you'll notice that this extra deck is very strange, and the side deck is kind of just like ideas that I've had. But I'm just gonna go through and discuss kind of what I've been thinking about, and then I will also go ahead and showcase some cool combos that I've been working on, if you will. So with the upcoming ban list, or with the newly released ban list I should say, I don't think that the format has fundamentally changed very much. I think that the ban list was good in terms of addressing problematic cards such as Summon Sorceress and number 95 and the rank up spell, stuff like that, putting Skyblaster to 1, all very, very nice changes. But I think that striker players, at least the very skilled striker players, can still play with one Kagari if they just transition to grinding with multi-roll. You don't even need to play cards like Magnet Reverse. I don't really think that card's actually that good in striker, but that's a totally different tangent. Salamangreat obviously did not get hit very much other than just a slap on the wrist in terms of consistency. Whether or not people choose to play Signet Mining here is kind of a moot point because we still have Flame Buffalo as an option anyway. So you kind of just have leeway to play around with that, or if you just want to play more hand traps. So Salamangreat's totally intact in my opinion. And then Danger Thunder I think just goes back to the boards that it was making prior to the Goliath combo, which is basically double Colossus plus Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss and a rank 8, as well as Rip 2 from Levianeer and Diablos. So I think that they have pretty much very similar combos. Obviously they don't have Summon Sorceress anymore, but it wasn't ever really integral to their overall strategy. Fundamentally you would try and just get Saryujas out, which didn't get touched, with the Dangers, which also didn't get touched, and then go into the Guard Dragon plays from there. So yeah, I think all those decks are pretty much alive and kicking, and that's my 3-minute quote-unquote meta-analysis. But enough about that, let's talk about this deck. So what do I think about this deck? I think because the format is going to stay pretty similar, with the exception of the introduction of Spell Mining Cave or Mishoto or Mystic Mine. It's called Mystic Mine, I should start calling it that. Mystic Mine Burn. That is a very scary deck for this deck to try and contend against, because obviously I don't currently have any main deck outs to it other than arguably Imperial Order, which can just shut it off. But yeah, that deck is a very, very big threat. But I am going to see where the format actually, how it takes shape, how it actually progresses over the next coming weeks with regional results and stuff. Again, I will be going to the NAWCQ. I don't know if I'll be taking this deck. I might be, I might not be. I have a couple other decks in the back of my mind that I've been contemplating running, but yeah, this is the deck that if I do say so myself, is one of my more, I don't know. I don't like saying it's a deck I'm known for, because I don't have any accomplishments with it, but it's a deck that I posted most on this channel with. I can say that much at least. I think that apart from Mishoto and stuff, there's going to be a lot of hand traps, so I'm very iffy on going all in on a super duper combo oriented build. Granted, I do think that it's still risky going second and playing into a bunch of stuff, because we can't just throw as many resources at the wall like Danger Thunder. Even if we were to introduce a larger danger package, or a danger package, because right now I'm not playing any, but yeah, I think that even with the introduction of dangers, it still is hard for this deck in particular to deal with. To deal with everything, because there are certain choke points that can really harm this deck. If people like Ogre Wolf, or if people like Asha Key Search, that could really harm what we're trying to do. So my idea is to just go for simplicity. I'm trying to make a very contained combo. Every time I try and like sit down and theorize a combo play, I always try and go with Chick Tiger and maybe like a random discard if I wanted to introduce like Griffin. Just because anything beyond Chick and Tiger is a bonus. If you have Perfume, it's a bonus. If you have like Goods alongside it, it's a bonus. Like Foolish Burial, like these two, like anything else is just an extender. But if you have the fundamental combo, then you're pretty much good to go. So I'm not really big on making like a hugely oppressive board. In fact, my favorite combo doesn't even use the Curious Griffin play with Order, but I just have it in here because it is actually still an option, and I will showcase that. You can still achieve the Imperial Order set if you wanted to. But yeah, so like this list I feel like is pretty refined. It's not exactly where I want it to be. It doesn't solve all the answers of like what I expect the format to be. Again, namely Mashoto Burn is a big problem for us, but you'll notice it's a lot of the same stuff that I've been playing with prior to the list. Obviously the absence of the rank up spell because of the ban list, but the only real notable change is the introduction of the Orcust engine. I think the Orcust engine does two key things. First, it allows us to get an additional negation in the form of Climax, which is obviously very good, while simultaneously just bridging the way into Rusty because Galatea is a dark, and they're all darks obviously, and that doesn't typically interfere too much with our game plan. But I think the second thing is that Mermaid being a discard outlet for Zephyros is like a very nice way to not have to rely on stuff like Curious Resolving or opening Perfume or Goods and stuff. It just makes it so that in your already pretty contained combo, you can kind of just get there. And if you're forced to like use a Perfume search in order to get one of these two combo pieces that you didn't open with, like if you open like Goods Tiger and no way to get to Chick, then obviously you're not going to be discarding Zephyros in that case. So it's nice to have like more options to discard Zephyros, which I think is like super conducive to making strong turn 1 boards, and is something that I very much value highly. Apart from that, I think the reintroduction of Fawblade is something else to consider here. Obviously we need more targets for Rusty, but I think Fawblade as a standalone card is fine. It's actually fine to grind with this card, funnily enough. Not the greatest against Striker, but it still has some utility in negating the 1 Kagari. Kagari going to 1 makes Fawblade have a lot more like added value because like you're very clearly going to stop their big push. Like they should only really be summoning Kagari now if they're going for like the big value play with Engage, and if they're trying to like not necessarily close out the game in that turn. Like obviously if they can make like a push with Heater or something, then they'll try and go for like Shark Cannon and stuff. But like even if they can't make a Borosaur play, if they just try and like resolve Engage a bunch of times with multi-roll at the end phase, that's typically when I think they should be summoning Kagari. Again, I don't think, excuse me, I don't think Magnet Reverse will catch on in the long term. I think that card's just overhyped, simply because like it's a brick if like you don't open a way to play the game, and I just don't like that card very much, I'm not gonna lie. Additionally, again, I'm going on a bit of a tangent here, but if you're forced to like tag out into Kagari, like it creates a choke point where because the Kagari wasn't properly special summoned, you can't bring it back with a Magnet Reverse. So that's something that's pretty important to note. It makes it so that like actually targeting the Ray with like a threat like removal and forcing it to tag out. If it tags out into Kagari, then that's like very bad. I think obviously the more skilled players wouldn't do that, but tangents aside. Yeah, let's go on to the extra here, because obviously this is not going to be what the extra deck looks like in the end, but it is very, I guess, symbolic of the things that I've been considering over the past couple of days since the ban list came out. So the rank 4s offer mostly utility. Force Strix I still feel is a staple, even though there's only one target for it. I think that Singing Lanius isn't good anymore because we don't have Summon Sorceress. Not that I was the biggest fan of that play, just because I felt it was overall weak to hand traps, and that's kind of been my motto for the past format. I think ever since Salmon Great came out, it's hard to justify running like a huge combo and not expecting to get hand trapped, because Salmon Great itself runs so many hand traps, but like you're still just going to run into a lot of disruption, unless if you're going first against like Danger Thunder. But even then, at that point, it's kind of like a toss up. It's like a coin flip at that point as to whether or not you get to go first. But yeah, I still think that like going for huge big power plays with like very clear choke points is like not a very good idea, simply because if you get disrupted, then you're kind of out of the water. What else? So Dweller, Nightmare, Redoer, and Tornado Dragon I think are some of the best rank 4s. As far as like disruption is concerned, you could still very easily manipulate it to where you have Shade Brigade underneath the Redoer for an extra disruption, and that actually I think is going to be something that is a nice kind of endpoint for your combo, because against Salmon Great it actually is pretty effective to just spin the normal summon, because like you'll still have other disruptors, but like if they don't have a board to work with, then it's like really awkward for them to get going. So Redo in tandem with like Dweller is like super good against Salmon Great. Tornado Dragon has been obviously very good against Striker, and it's just generically good for clearing back or going second. And then Eva Swarm Nightmare I think is good if like you're forced to play versus Danger Thunder. I think this is actually one of the better picks. Because Dangers are so good at naturally pushing through, you just need to be able to like stop their big pushes. And like this deters them, or not deters them, but it like prevents them from climbing up faster, and you can use like your other disruptive tools at like more efficient times. So like this is kind of like more toss-up, like this versus Dweller, like in the blind game 1 scenario, because like this has less utility against obviously Striker. I think it's okay against Salmon Great. It doesn't work on the normal summon, so that's like one of the big things. But if your opponent doesn't play around this card correctly, it could still be a strong pick, but I would pick Dweller over it probably. Against Salmon Great. Which is why like this is kind of an iffy card to include, because like it's not the best to go for blind turn 1. Another option you can go for that I don't even have in the side deck here is a Baguska. But because you're able to end on like enough rank 4s to where like you'll have other stuff live, maybe it's not worth it. But it is something to consider if you wanted to. What else? Okay, so the links here. Because of the introduction of the Orcust combo, I have obviously elected to play Mermaid. You definitely need this. And Galatea I have as a 2 of, like, just because there are certain combos where like you could get the Dingirsu Symbol Skeleton loop, or like the Shuffle Back in Symbol Skeleton with Galatea, and then the Harp Horror loop that way. Either way, like one way or the other, it's fine. Like being able to loop Dingirsu multiple times is like super good, and that's another big appeal of the Orcust engine, is that you're able to like play like combo off with Rusty on subsequent turns. Like if you go Symbol Revive this back to the zone that Rusty points to, then Dingirsu sends a card, or even if you don't want to send a card, you could just still pop a card with Rusty, and then this can attach the symbol to keep the loop going. So yeah, having that loop is nice. And then in the first turn combo, sometimes you just need to overlay the Dingirsu on the first Galatea, then convert the Dingirsu with another monster, usually like Boots or something, into the second Galatea. So yeah, that's like an argument for playing 2, but I'm not sure if I would actually play 2 because space is, as always, a very, very problematic issue. Yeah, I don't think I need to tell you guys how much of a problem I've historically had with that. Rusty, I think, is still very, very powerful, even though you don't have access to the Azathoth play without doing weird stuff. Like, I've been talking to a couple people, and like, there are combos where like you can do Curious Griffin, like I said, and then like with a Curious, you could send Wonder Xyz, and then you could play Outer Entertainer Yarla to Wonder Xyz, like the Azathoth on top of it. But I don't know, man. Like, that's like the 2-card combo with that. It doesn't offer anything else. It's literally just Griffin with Wonder Xyz for Azathoth, but like you kind of just die to everything else. So I'm not too keen on that. But if you want to try it out, you can go ahead and go for it. If you made it this far, this is probably very long. Yeah, this is 16 minutes. This is a very long video. I apologize for that. But I just like talking, and I'm sure you guys are used to that by now. Curious Griffin, like I was saying, is still possible with the Chick Tiger combo in its most basic form. The problem is that it kind of conflicts with the Orcusts because you want to be able to do this before you resolve like your Orcust Nightmare in Graveyard, but it's kind of hard to do so while still ending on a satisfactory board, at least for my standards. I don't think like Griffin Azathoth is good enough. I really don't. Mostly because like Azathoth's not, surprisingly, just not good enough in a lot of scenarios. It does basically nothing against Striker. Like it'll win you games against like Danger Thunder, but I think even Salamangreat, if like they're able to deter your push, they can definitely play out of it. Like they could chump block for quite a while if they have like Gazelle in hand. They could just hold it, not a big deal. And they still have like actual disruptive hand traps and stuff. So it's unlikely you'll get to that combo to begin with against Salamangreat, in my opinion. So yeah, I wouldn't actually recommend this anymore. I do think Curious has an argument to be worth playing. In this particular build, it'd be hard to make, but if you added more non-Beast Warrior extenders, then you could make this to like fill up the missing combo pieces. But the problem again is that like Curious doesn't really turn into anything useful unless it is Griffin, but like then you're kind of just making Curious in those games where it's like you need to get your play started, and then it becomes like a whole issue with consistency where I don't really want to like delve into it that deep. I just want to get straight to the point, and I think like just sticking with the standard Orcust combo is kind of the way to go. And another thing to note in that regard is that like you could very easily make the argument of going over 40 cards, like even like 45, something like that. Just because like there's so many cards that aren't bricks necessarily, but like cards that you really would rather not draw, like things that would make your life easier if they just stayed in your deck. But again, you want to open like specific cards, so like it's hard to try to find that balance, and that's still something that like I'm trying to tweak with mathematically to get the correct numbers. But again, this is still a work in progress, so it's fine. Dreamidol is like standard pretty much. A lot of these in the side deck here are gonna be standard, what I would consider standard, but there's not enough space to like put them all in the extra deck as far as showcasing combos is concerned. And the last card to talk about is the Borreload Savage Dragon. So there's a cool play where if you have access to Destrudo with Chick Tiger, you can end on Savage Dragon with everything, which makes a compelling case to put Destrudo to multiple copies maybe. In that vein, you could consider like Dragster. The problem with Dragster is it's a light, so it conflicts with the Orcusts, because typically you won't be able to make it like until like after the play is done. Although I guess there is a way if you like open it where you could actually make it prior to like utilizing your Nightmare combo. I didn't actually really think about that till now. So if you wanted to be more consistent, I guess you could play Dragster. Another option is Yazi and Marimar for going second, breaking boards. The problem is accommodating space, as always, for not only the Yazi, but also usually you need to play your Link Cerebral to like actually make your Link plays worthwhile, since like your Nightmares and stuff aren't like gonna be enough on their own with like the 3 tokens that you're summoning. Granted, you could use Mare and like a token to make Phoenix and then go into your Orcust play from there, which is cool, but some things to consider. So let's go on to the side deck here as far as like other stuff. You know, I'm just gonna put the combos in another video because this video is getting way too long as it is. Alright, so we have Leo and Panther Dancer as like the game ender, like win condition, quote unquote. The thing with this is that like it completes for space, and that's what I have like a hard time trying to figure out. Like I typically want to play at least 20 cards in my extra deck, and that is very clearly not possible. So yeah, with this taking up 2 spaces, it's really difficult to comfortably fit while still having enough utility for going second, apart from just having big damage. Like you want to be able to clear boards prior to that, like force out negations and play through hand traps going second and stuff, but this doesn't help you do that, which is like the biggest problem. Also, people like hold Ogre for Wolf or like Twin Twister Wolf, and like that's like your only big push. Then you're kind of sunk if you don't have another like alternate waiting condition for like pushing a lot of damage, which is why I'm a big fan of Borosword, because like the Orcust combo natively goes into it very easily. It's like super convenient, as everyone knows, so it really isn't too hard to go into a Borosword play after like breaking a back with Phoenix and then going to like you can go into Mermaid for your Orcust combo. You can you know, there's very many times if you go for your normal Chick Tiger play going second and go this route, you can go Tiger King, and then like you can use Tiger King with like a Zephyros or a straight Lunalight to go into Durimadol, pop another back row. In the process, like Tiger King effect can negate all their face-up monsters. You can go for Rusty, you can go summon Galatea, summon Dingirsu, send 2 more cards, summon Redoer with a Lunalight and like the Rusty sending the Shaping, and like pop or spinning another card. So like, you can out 5-6 cards easily going second. It's just a matter of like being able to close out after that. And I think that like if somehow they have Ghost Ogre and they hold it all the way to like Wolf, and that's like what they're expecting you to use for like your final play, and that's what you needed to close out the game, and it doesn't work, and you leave them with like enough life points for them to continue, then that's not good against a deck like Salamangreat that can just rebuild, or like Striker that can just engage you out of the game next turn, stuff like that. So it's very important that like if you're going to be able to push for the game, you can do so successfully, and I think Borosword is much more reliable in that respect. The biggest argument, in my opinion, for Leo is actually not even its protection, but the fact that it attacks twice, which makes it push through Balinks. If like they didn't feel forced to use Balinks on anything else, then like that's a good starting point. I just think that like the Orcust engine though, it's good at just pushing through, you know, whatever it is that they have board wise. Granted, this is all theory. I haven't tested this build whatsoever, and it goes without saying that that's because this is a post Dark Neostorm with the new cards, but yeah. And then we have Tiger King, which I think is less staple, weirdly enough, if you don't have a Wolf play. Like if I end up not even going for Wolf when fusions, which sounds blasphemous, I know, but like if I end up deeming more things or other things more important, this could foreseeably maybe get cut. The problem is that like this is such an easy win condition, going for like the Black Sheep with the Wolf and stuff. Like it's so easy to do, it's just like susceptible. Also, this is nice for negating like multiple Colossuses, which is super good, and like fetching Tenki to get like missing combo pieces is like also valuable, of course. So like even if we don't have a like Wolf as a big power play, I guess, There still is an argument for Tiger King to be made. So yeah. We got the 2 other Nightmares. I think that Cerberus gets more value in the Salamangreat Great matchup, but not as much as I might have initially thought. Like there was a time where I thought like, man, this might be like a mandatory card to play against Salamangreat Great to like force out Bailings and stuff, or like, you know, other things of that nature. But it's more important, honestly, to just like force out the roar and play through hand traps, and just be able to try and push through Bailings by other means. Like a card that just reads force Bailings isn't enough. Like a card has to have more utility, in my opinion. But this does make a very good argument for being in the extra deck because of throwing it away for the Orcust combo. I'd rather throw that away than Phoenix, to be honest. And then Unicorn, I think, has gotten less necessary, but it still is worth considering because it is a dark. So yeah, you can do stuff with Orcust plays, so it's pretty cool. Underclock is not as necessary if you don't have Leo, and because we don't have Azathoth Turbo anymore, like there aren't plays where like Chick Tiger results you into going for Underclock straight away and then going for Rusty to end on Azathoth, because that's not a thing anymore. And because I'm going for the Orcust play like 9 times out of 10, this becomes a lot less needed, but it is still there in case you need a generic link to. So stuff to consider. Also, Borlow Dragon is something to consider that I didn't put in here for pushing through like Thunderboards. Yeah, that's pretty much it, like pushing through Thunderboards. But if you have Tiger King, I guess it's kind of a moot point, right? So stuff to think about. As far as main deck stuff is concerned, hand traps, not just Ash, but like hand traps in general. I've always been on the fence because it's hard to like slot them in if you don't main deck any, but it's hard to like play just 3. I don't like playing a low number of hand traps. I'd either play a lot or play none, and that's kind of like where the issue lies. Same with even other utility cards, but that's kind of my stance on that. I just think that it is possible to fit these in. It's just how much are you ruining consistency and how much are you trying to like play for going second, like what decks you're trying to respect, stuff like that. The danger package I already kind of talked about. It's like nice to be able to like push and make really huge boards, but like I feel like sometimes if you invest too much into your first turn board and it like gets cleared, then you kind of just put your like all your eggs in one basket, and I actually don't think that playstyle is very good against, or that game plan is very good against Salamangreat and Striker, and whatever other decks. I think the other decks would be Thunder and Orcust personally, and Mashoto Burn. Speaking of which, we probably are going to need main deck removal for it, as much as I hate to say. Probably gonna like play Twin Twister, mainer side, and then a card I was considering is Galaxy Cyclone, because you can send it off goods, and then they can't negate the graveyard effect with Dark Bribe or Solemn Judgment, which is a card that all the Mashoto Burn decks play. Like they all play Bribe, and they max out on Bribe and Judgment. So OCG has 2 Judgment, we have 1, so they're gonna play 3 Bribe, 2 Judgment. We're gonna play 3 Bribe, 1 Judgment. In TCG lists, most likely. And yeah, like if they bribe a Foolish Goods, like without knowing that we're gonna send Galaxy Cyclone, then that's just insane. But yeah, like, or you could just set or activate the Galaxy Cyclone on whatever back row. Most of the back row is chainable, so it's like whatever. But it'll go to grave, and then you can go ahead and banish it the following turn. You can take like a turn off because the deck is slow. But if you have a way to kill all 3 of the Spell Mining Caves, then they really just don't have a win condition. So that's why like it's possible to maybe play 3 Cyclone and then also 3 Twin Twister. It's just that like if if you pop one of the Mystic Mine, I should stop calling it Mashoto. If you pop one Mystic Mine, you should immediately expect them to flip up Trap Trick or Metaverse and put up another one instantly. I think that is a reasonable assumption. If not, if they don't, Dark Bribe or Solemn Judgment. So yeah, they have like infinite answers. It's crazy. Like Lilith, like 3 Lilith, 3 Trap Trick, 3 Metaverse. It's like 9 ways to get Metaverse. And then 3 Bribe and like 1 Judgment. So they have 13 answers to popping a single solitary Spell Mine Cave. So yeah, that like sucks a lot. So yeah, as stupid as that deck is, there are outs, but you have to keep in mind that they're going to have answers to your outs, which is something that like a lot of, you know, backer strategies kind of lack. So that's unfortunate. Babel is here, or Babel is here, excuse me, as kind of a means of like playing more on your opponent's turn. Like getting the Skeleton Dingirsu combo, like pointing to Rusty on your opponent's turn is pretty nice. I don't know if it's flat out better than just having Climax. I do think the deck is lacking negations. There's Disruption and there's like other stuff, but it's lacking particularly Spell Trap negations, like Twin Twisters, or like evenly matched, like big blowout cards, or even stuff like Pankratops. The deck doesn't have that good of a coverage against Pankratops, apart from like if we do go for the Griffin combo, which again I'm not too big of a fan of, but it is something you can go for. Where are we at? Oh god, we're like 30 minutes at least. Yeah, this is just me rambling on. Combos will definitely be in a separate video, and I'm going to probably record that now, so you'll get double the videos. If you made it this far into the video, please leave a comment below. Hashtag World Penguin Day was yesterday, because it was. Hashtag World Penguin Day was yesterday in the comment section below. But yeah. Oh, and the second Distributor and Fall Blade, just in case you want more like targets or like Warriors again, the Savage and stuff. Alright. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think, and I'll catch you in the next one. See you guys.